There was a horrific attack in Paris just within the last couple hours, and we've got some video from ABC News.
10 minutes after noon, a quiet Paris side street when a car pulled up, gunmen jumped out, and according to eyewitness video, which you will see and hear, opened fire with automatic weapons. And if you listen closely, the gunmen holler out, Allahu Akbar, as they fire upon this weekly satirical newspaper that had a long history of tweaking all religions, including Islam. The newspaper had been firebombed before for publishing those infamous cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. This was a much more deadly attack. There was actually a police officer guarding that paper. That officer was killed. As you say, there are 11 more dead.
Okay, so this story is still unfolding as we record this right now. These images, obviously, we're seeing this stuff just every day. So we're going to show you a couple covers from the Charlie Hebdo newspaper. So they were a true equal opportunity offender. Here they are with the Pope, so that's obviously a knock on Christianity. Here's what appears to be a Orthodox Jew. I wish my French was better so I could understand that. I see Palestine in there. And then, of course, the next one is Mohammed. Now, obviously, the Danish cartoon incident, which I think was in 2011, caused a lot of craziness. I feel like we're becoming just so insanely desensitized to this stuff. Like, I woke up this morning, I see a zillion tweets about it. You watch another video, people screaming, shots, and it's just like, well, it happened in Australia 2 weeks ago. France, they've been having all kinds of problems over the last couple of years. Anyway, like, how desensitized are you to this kind of stuff?
I remember back when South Park did this, and it was, or was it Family Guy?
Family Guy
South
definitely
Park
made
fun of it.
Yeah, I don't remember who did what, but I definitely have seen a Family Guy with Muhammad in it.
Yeah, they both have had Muhammad in them.
Yeah, it was a throwaway, and then South Park made fun of them. They're like, well, we're gonna get revenge on America, and they made their own cartoon where they're like, I'm a fat American. I have babies out of wedlock, you know.
Yeah.
And it was, back then we thought, oh, it's so, it's so satirical and funny and original, but maybe you're right. Maybe we are a little desensitized to it now.
Yeah. What do you think, Brad?
First of all, how do you know that looks like Muhammad?
It looked exactly the same as the comic before it.
Yeah, it looked like the Jew.
Right.
So how do you know it's not a Jew dressed up like his friend Muhammad? That's another thing we need to clarify.
And I'm sure Jesus had a friend named Muhammad. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the whole idea is there were never any photos of Muhammad, or drawings, nor depictions, images. So we don't know if that really is what he looks like. I think it's just so
right, but that's
it's so presumptuous and so frustrating on the part of these militants. They need to understand outside of their little world that there's this whole big world.
But they just don't give a fuck. Like, I get it. I get that. And I see that already on Twitter. People are trying to, like, rationalize it in a weird way. But I don't understand why, especially people on the left that should be for free speech, like, they just don't give a fuck. So what are we...
Don't give a fuck in terms of, okay, what are we doing tomorrow?
Right, they can listen to you and be like, oh, well, Brett Ehrlich said that there's a bigger world out there and we should respect other people's beliefs. But that's not in the very belief system.
Yeah, here's the thing, is like, no one's gonna come to defense of the comedians, I don't think. That's the problem. And all the comedians are like, wait, we should be able to tell jokes. Shit, man, let's pay attention right now. But when you think about it, like, this isn't like a school of people was bombed. And even when a school of children is bombed, people do move on. It's such a difficult impasse that we're at. I honestly don't know.
Right, that's actually a good point, because even when I prefaced this story, I totally skipped over what happened in Pakistan literally 2 weeks ago with 100-something dead children. So isn't that like the most perverse part of this? That they're attacking, basically this magazine is the equivalent of The Onion in France. So this is a true direct attack on free speech. Like, in a weird way, this is sort of the worst thing they could do, right?
Do you feel that we're maybe giving them too much leeway and rationalization in that way? Like, oh, well, this is just what they do, and we need to work around it.
I don't think anyone wants to work around it. It's just we don't know how to work through it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. I mean, that's the danger, is people get, it feels like lazy and are just like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, well, what are we gonna do tomorrow? But I honestly don't know how to engage it. And I do think that if I'm giving them probably as much credit as they deserve, in that this is part of their tactic. This is the death by 1,000 cuts. This is, we can't like bomb Paris by and large. We need to go do all these little attacks so that it's more just this nebulous feeling of dread that you have.
Yeah,
I mean,
do you
that's
guys-
how terrorism works.
Right. So do you think what they want ultimately is for the French authorities and the French government then to start cracking down on freedom of speech even more, becoming more afraid of allowing to show images like this? Thus, they don't even have to do it. Like that's sort of the brilliance of terrorism in a weird way. They don't have to take away your freedoms through terror. They just force the government to start restricting your freedoms themselves.
Also, I think part of the strategy, it depends on who's perpetrating this, but if the strategy is to establish an Islamic State, this is part of the tactic, part of the strategy. This is the tactic that gets you to focus on Paris and not, the Middle East.
Right.
So now we're playing defense on our own turf. This is taking the fight to France so that France won't necessarily be more inclined, the more attacks are perpetrated on the streets of France, the less inclined the French government will be to not necessarily police around Paris in terms of like free speech, but more like contribute to the effort to put down ISIS.
Yeah. Do you guys think that in a weird way this actually might sort of help? Look, in America we have a different free speech than they have in Europe. They don't have the First Amendment the way we have it here.
Like
which
freedom
people,
of the press? Or?
Right. Well, they don't have it fully. You're not allowed to deny the Holocaust. There's different hate speech rules, things like that. But do you think in a weird way this actually, sort of the reverse question of what I asked a second ago, that this actually may sort of help the freedom fighters, the people that believe in free speech, and the satirists and the comedians? Because just on Twitter already in the last hour, the amount of people that I saw that were posting the cartoon and saying, fuck this, we can't be tolerant of intolerance. So in a weird way, they actually might be strengthening the people that they're trying to
Unintentionally, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you
Certainly unintentionally, yeah.
The intended effect is for you to be like, oh, I'm scared. Okay, we better not do this then. We better like do what they want.
Yeah.
And that's the natural thing to move in. But clearly, that's what the desired effect is of these terrorists. So no.
Yeah. All right. Well, certainly there's no answer to that. And since this thing is still unfolding, we will find out.